joining us tonight for another Cookie Jar Conversations. We've got another interesting subject for you tonight. Y'all try to find germs in the Bible. Everybody's upset these days about this COVID virus that's going on. It seems like we're all concerned about germs everywhere, and so I thought, hey, that'd be a good conversation piece.
It would be a good conversation.
We've got Joanne Francis with us tonight. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for asking me.
I thought it'd be cool if we had an expert.
Yes.
She's our expert nurse here at the Assembly of God Church in Richmond, and so glad that you can share with us a little bit about germs.
Well, it seems to be the topic of situation all over the world right now.
Yeah.
But you know, germ is really a generic term.
Okay.
Okay.
Germs are bacteria. They are viruses. They are fungi. And they are protozoa. So, you know, when you're talking about a germ, you're not being very specific.
I see.
So, you know,
Okay.
they live everywhere. They're in your air. They're in the food you eat. They're on your skin. They're on your animal that you love. They're in your water. And almost any surface that you touch has a germ.
Yep.
Even our skin is covered with germs. And that's a good reason to do all this hand washing we're doing. So bacteria kind of work in two ways. They form a toxin, which makes you sick, or they just actually invade some of your tissues and make you sick. Strep throat, very popular germ, or bacteria. Tuberculosis, and your urinary tract infection that you women love so well are all caused by bacteria.
You know, that a UTI can just mess your whole
Make you
whole
very
life
sick.
up. It can make you very sick.
Very sick. Make you septic.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to skip the one that's just bothering us all over this world and go to fungus.
Okay.
Now, some fungus are pretty good. I love my mushrooms on my my pizza. Yeah. Mold on some cheeses make the cheese what they are. And yeast. A good bread is not going to be good without the yeast. Those are all fungus. But also, there's the one that causes the athlete's feet. And the ringworm. You know, we don't like those so well. And then the protozoa. Those are those little bugs, you know, that get into your GI tract and cause all kinds of problems. We don't like those at all. So, and usually we get those by bad water, or some bad food, or even the bug that causes malaria from mosquito bites.
Okay.
So, and then we have the famous virus. You know, and a bacteria is actually a little identity, but a virus is just a piece of DNA or RNA that's encapsulated, and it goes in and attacks a cell and it changes that cell. That's why it's so hard and so an awful thing to have. Colds, everybody has a cold. We're trying not to have the flu, but we don't seem to be able to get that 100% effective either. Measles, chicken pox, polio, and of course COVID. And bacteria, I mean, antibiotics do not work against viruses. So if you go to the doctor for a cold and expect an antibiotic, it's not going to work. He might give it to you just to keep you quiet, but it's not going to work. So, you know, how do they spread? Most bacteria and viruses spread by touch.
Okay.
You know, touch the person that has it, hug them. You know, oh, I miss hugs so bad.
Me too.
Oh, I miss hugs.
Yeah.
And if you get close enough to a family member that you know, hug or kiss, or, you know, share cups, drinking utensils. How many times do we drink after each other in families?
Yeah.
You know.
Sure.
If you walk by somebody that has coughed or sneezed, that hasn't done the proverbial cover-up, the table where they've coughed or sneezed, or, you know, pick it right up off of that.
Right.
And of course your insect bites or your animal bites or any contaminated food, soils and so forth. There's ways, awful lot of ways that you can get our germs. To stop the spread, and you've heard this, 6 foot. Wear your mask. Sneeze either into a Kleenex or a tissue. Toss it away immediately. Use your elbow if you don't have that available. If you don't have your mask on, but you should have if you're out in public, but even in your own home, I find that if I don't have anything ready available,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I usually have a sweater or a vest or something on. So I use that as my mask while I sneeze or cough.
I see.
It keeps it down. It doesn't spread
Right.
through the house. Other people in your home might not get it. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. Oh, how many times do we do that during the day?
All day.
I think the mask wearing kind of alerted me to that. You know, you don't realize how often you do until.
You know what alerted me is on the bus I had a shield, and you'd go to watch the bus.
How many times do we reach up and rub our eyes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it's so much habit. And the thing I have found so much, I didn't realize how much
That's true.
Yeah.
until you got that mask on and you go, oh, you can't do that.
Yeah. That's
So,
right.
you know, we're all guilty of using some non-very hygienic
Sure.
habits in our lives.
Sure.
Clean or disinfect, Lysol spray, or any of the hundreds of others that are out there. Stay home when you're sick. How many times we don't have a temperature, but I'm coughing and hacking and carrying on, so I'm going to go ahead and go to work, or I'm going to go to the grocery store, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. Hand washing, number 1.
Yeah.
Number 1 prevention. 20 seconds.
Keep that clean.
Soap and water. And if for some reason you don't have access to that, there's always a box of Germex or any of the other alcohol wipes or sanitizers that are available. So stop the spread of germs, number 1. You can use vaccines, and there are medications. Bacteria, antibiotics, virals, antiviral, and then your protozoa and so forth are what they call anti-parasites. So they all take a different medication to help alleviate them. So all in all, we're in a battle against germs, and we will be we have been since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I learned. You know, we have learned a lot about germs, disinfection, and even quarantine this past year.
Yeah.
But what might surprise you, it surprised me, was that the Lord gave specific instructions to prevent outbreaks. And so I found this neatest website. It was BibleEvidences.com. And it says, in numerous instances, the Bible contains medical information that far predates man's actual discoveries of related principles in the field of medicine. The medical instructions given to Moses to the Israelites some 3,500 years ago were not only far superior to the practices of contemporary cultures, they exceeded medical standards practiced as recently as 100 years ago. And Louis Pasteur, he found that most infectious diseases were caused by microorganisms originating from outside the body. And so this new understanding and the means of their transmission led to improved sanitary standards and resulted in an enormous drop in the mortality rate. And you can find those in Numbers, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy. The Israelites were instructed to wash themselves and their clothes in running water, not stagnant water, running water, if they had bodily discharge, if they came in contact with another person's discharge, or if they had touched a dead human or an animal carcass. They were instructed to wash any uncovered vessels that were in the vicinity of a dead body, and if a dead carcass touched the vessel, it had to be destroyed. Items recovered during war were also purified through fire or running water. They were also instructed to bury their waste, human or animal, outside of the camp, and to burn the waste of the animals. These saved countless lives in the Israelite camps. But their Egyptian peers, you know, had they just implemented some of these practices, it could have eliminated the plague. I read that, I think it was in the 14th century, that once the priest said, hey, we're going to implement these instructions, that it eliminated the plague. And so I just thought, wow, even the Bible even gives us instructions on how we're to do this. They weren't it should be re-emphasized that the Israelites were the only culture that practiced quarantine, and so that's what I found fascinating.
Cool.
You know, the Lord had instructed quarantine of 7 days, and then you had to go back to the priest and you had to see how you were, if you were better,
well.
and if you weren't, you went back another 7 days.
That's right.
So, anyway, I also found that hyssop oil, there's scriptures that say, wash me with hyssop, hyssop. It's a natural antiseptic.
Really?
Yeah. So, anyway, it was used, to be used as a purifying agent. Hyssop oil has been shown to contain 50% antifungal and antibacterial agents.
Great.
So let's go out and buy some.
Hyssop.
Not sure where we get it.
I don't know.
Well, you know what? I compared germs to sin. I looked at the spiritual side of it. I looked up what is a germ, and the definition said that it can lead to disease. It's too small to be seen without magnification, and it can invade the human body, animals, and other living hosts. What's sin?
Yeah.
Sin can lead to death.
Yes.
Sin is not always able to be seen, you know.
Yeah.
Lots of times
We
it has
hide
to
it.
be magnified
That's
because
right.
we hide it, exactly. And it invades the human body
Sure does.
very much. So how can we protect ourselves? How can we protect ourselves from sin, the germ sin? We can put on the whole armor of God. We can put on the belt of truth, the righteous breastplate, the gospel shoes, they're covered with peace, the shield of faith, and the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit. You know, if we're covered by that, I liked each one had a reading, and do I have time to read them, you think?
Yeah, if you want to.
The belt of truth, allegiance to God's truth and commitment to integrity will win spiritual battles and help secure other parts of the armor.
Okay.
You know, just if we have the belt of truth on, that helps secure the rest of the armor. I thought that was cool. And the righteous breastplate, godly character and a right relationship with God are necessary in protecting our hearts to allow us to fight effectively for purity and justice. We need that breastplate of righteousness covering our heart. No, if we don't have on the helmet of salvation that keeps our mind pure, that can get a little germ down into our heart if we didn't have on our breastplate of righteousness and our helmet of salvation. The gospel shoes of peace, believing and boldly proclaiming Christ's message is a sure way to overcome the enemy. The shield of faith, believing and claiming God's promises helps us throw off the enemy attacks. And the helmet of salvation, like I mentioned before, being renewed in our minds and confident in our relationship with God will protect us in battle and allow us to follow a God-given strategy for a victory plan. You know, also if we have on that helmet of salvation and keep our minds, that could keep our minds fixed on Jesus. And if He has given us a plan for victory, we can follow that plan. You know, if we don't have on that helmet of salvation, it might just, you know, I can get a thought 1 minute and the next minute, where did that go? Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. And last but not least, the sword of the Spirit, which we all know is the Word of God. If we have the Word of God imprinted on our hearts and our minds, we won't have that germ of sin in our being. 3 times Jesus was tempted by the devil, and He used the Word. That's how He won the victory over Satan. When He had fasted for 40 days, and I'm so sure He was weak.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
aren't you?
Yeah.
He was hungry. He was
Thirsty. He was
thirsty.
tired.
He was weak. And Satan tempted Him with food, with power, and with angels. You know, throw yourself down and the angels will raise you up. You know, if you're the Son of God, show me. Throw yourself down, the angels will pick you up. You know, so, you know, he tempted him with food, with self, and with power. You know, if you'll just serve me instead of your God, I'll give you all of this. But Jesus used the word on him. And we can use the word and win the battle. We can get through this virus. You know, we protect ourselves.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands and wear your mask.
And read the word.
And read the word. Keep your spirits clean too. We thank you for joining us tonight. We love you.